You guys saw the title, and you guys know what we're going to be doing. We're going to be simulating this season 10 times to see what MLB The Show thinks is going to happen here in this season, in the 2026 season. Of course, we'll go over the trade deadline along with some trades. We will also go over the awards and the league leaders, so we'll kind of see how the season goes here. So, anyways, let's go ahead and let's go on to the trade deadline here in the first simulation. And we get our first big trade. We have Carlos going to the Rays. I'm not going to try to pronounce that last name. I'm terrible with names. I apologize. But Griffin Jax goes to the Yankees here before the deadline. Of course, we'll pop in if there's any more big trades for every time of the season. Like right now, the Rays are selling. They get Carson Rocaforte, Frank Mozziacato, and Alec Marsh for Cedric Mullins, Jake Fraley, and Taylor Wall. So a big trade for the Royals, upgrading in the outfield. We also have a big one for the Cubs and Orioles. Trevor Rogers is going to the Cubs for Jackson Wiggins, Porter Hodge, and Jonathan Long. Another absolutely huge trade. Josh Hader, Jake Myers, Steven Okert, and Jose Altuve is going to the Cubs for Pedro Ramirez, Jefferson Rojas, Jameson Taillon, and Luke Little. That is an insane trade. We also get Bobby Abreu going to the Reds for Hector Rodriguez, who the Astros are selling. And the Brewers get Drew Rasmussen, Steven Matz, and Jake Woodford for Jesus Made, Dylan O'Ray, and Jake Bowers. Also an intra-division trade, Blake Mitchell and Nick Lofton are going to the Twins for Ryan Jeffers, Orlando Arcia, and Justin Topa. So the Royals are again trying to upgrade at the deadline. Now, of course, we will go through each one. Forgot where they are there for a second. Because sometimes they don't show up. I've tried this before. Sometimes they don't show up exactly. Like, for right here, the Mariners and the Rockies made a trade. Also on the deadline, Keenan Thompson, Willie Castro, Kyle Freeland, and Jimmy Hergert will move to the Mariners for Dobnak, Celestin, and Rayleigh. The Rockies, that was the Rockies. And there's the Twins. They also made another trade at the deadline, picking up Luis Torrens, Mike Tauchman, and Kodai Senga from the Mets for Chandler Champlain and Sean Gamble. Austin Hayes, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Sean Newcomb, and Eric Fetty are Reds, along with Noelle Marte and Cam Collier to the White Sox. Who else is a bit? Keb Krimble's, what in the world did I just say? Craig Kimbrell is going to the Brewers for Kyle Harrison. That's a big one. We saw the Steven Matz trade. Luke Weaver is going to the Red Sox for Mikey Romero. Clevenger is going to the Rangers. Maley and Bader are now Brewers. We saw the Bobby Abreu. Felix Bautista, Chris Bassick, and Zach Eflin are now Tigers. Christian Walker is a Padre. We saw the Jose Altuve one. Ryan O'Hearn is a Brewer. Brandon Lowe is a Ranger. Luis Arias is back on the Marlins. Arenado is on the Brewers. And Mike Trout got traded to the Phillies for Dante Nori. Mike Trout got traded and it didn't even show up. That's nice. Kikuchi is to the Astros. Devin Williams is now a Red. Rogers is a Cub. I think we saw that one earlier. We saw the Mets and Reds. Clay Holmes, no, I guess we didn't, is now a Red, along with David Peterson, with Brooks Raley as well. Simeon's now a Red Sox. We saw the Royals one with Cedric Mullins and Taylor Walls. Kevin Alcantara is now an Oriole for Kyle Bradish. Gurriel is now an Angel. Pavin Smith's a Marlin. Dennis Santana's a Twin. Joey Bart's to the Marlins as well. We saw the Griffin Jacks. Will Warren is now a Giant with Matt Chapman's on the Yankees. AJ Puck is also a Yankee too. Again, some of these just didn't even show up. Like this one. The Mariners got Keegan Aiken, Andrew Kittredge, Ryan Helsley, and Tyler O'Neill from the Orioles. Brady Singer, Nathaniel Lowe are Padres. Just sometimes they don't show up. But anyways, on to the season end. We are at the end of the season. And of course, we will go by standings first. Let's go in the East. The American League East. The Yankees won it over the Red Sox. The Red Sox did make it as a wild card team, 92-70 for the Yankees. The Blue Jays ended up going over 500, but they were eliminated. Looks like one game back of the Red Sox, too. The Kansas City Royals won the American League Central and the best in the American League with 99 wins and 63 losses. I will gladly take that. I'm not going to lie to you. The Tigers were a wild card team with 94 wins. That's really weird that they're a wild card team with 94 wins. The American League West, the Mariners win it. They went 92-70. The Rangers also were a wild card team. The Tigers, Rangers, and Red Sox rounded out the wild card, as I said prior. But with the Blue Jays were a game back, the Twins were 5. The Philadelphia Phillies win the National League East, 95-67. So Mike Trout technically is now back in the playoffs for the first time since 2014. The Marlins also got a wild card spot. The Brewers win in the National League Central, with the Cubs getting a wild card spot. And, of course, the Dodgers won 112 games, and the Padres end up getting a wild card spot with the Padres, Marlins, and Cubs as well earlier as 1, 2, and 3. Awards, we had Aaron Judge win MVP for the third straight season. Stanton was number 2. Brian Wu won Cy Young. Vlad won the batting title. Strahm was reliever of the year with 50 saves and a 1.86 ERA. Murakami won Rookie of the Year. And then we'll just go one by one here with Gold Gloves. If you guys want to pause the video to see who got them, go ahead. Same thing with Silver Slugger. We're just going to go through here quickly enough through everything. So these are all the Silver Sluggers. And then we'll go, of course, go for the National League. Shohei Ohtani won it for the third straight season. Glass now won the Cy Young. When you go 20-1 with a 3.02 ERA, you're probably going to win it. Ohtani won the batting title. Hader was reliever of the year for the Cubs. Connor Griffin won the Rookie of the Year. Hank Aaron Award goes to Ohtani. And, of course, same thing with Gold Gloves. We're just going to go through these pretty quick. If you guys want to pause the video to see who won them, go ahead. Same thing with the Silver Sluggers. Ohtani, Will Smith. I'm expecting mostly Dodgers here. Mookie Betts, Yelich, Tucker, Acuna. And that will be that. So league leaders time. Batting average went to Shohei Ohtani. He also led the league in hits. Home runs was Shohei Ohtani. He almost had 60 home runs. He had 142 RBIs and 139 runs. That's insane. Stolen bases was Ellie with 45. Wins was Brian Wu. Glass now had the least losses. Matt Strahm, of course, with saves with 50. And then, of course, we'll go by WAR, which looks like Skubal at 6.1, and Ohtani with batting WAR with almost 11, which is kind of insane. But now let's go, I guess, little by little to see, I guess, not little by little, but the Royals got eliminated by the Tigers and the Cardinals. Oh, not Mitch Spence. The Red Sox defeat the Padres in the 2026 World Series. The Tigers end up winning game 3 against the Rangers in the wild card series, with Boston beating the Yankees. And then both the wild card teams end up defeating the ALDS, or the 1 and 2 seeds, with the Royals and Mariners going down in game 5. The Red Sox then swept the Tigers. And the National League, the Padres won in game 3, along with the Cubs in game 3 in the wild card spots. The Dodgers ended up getting swept by the Padres, so they kind of get their revenge. The Cubs won in Game 5 against the Phillies. Then Game 7, it took the Padres to win. And then Boston ended up winning here in the first simulation. So Boston gets a little check mark. And then I will just probably add in at the very end who ended up getting all these spots. But let's head on to the second simulation. We have our first trade here, and I think in May. Dennis Santana is going over to a division rival of the Cubs. They pick him up for Jackson Wiggins. And we got another trade with the Cubs. They're upgrading their bullpen. They get Griffin Jax from the Rays for Jonathan Long. And just before, about 2 weeks before the deadline, Drew Rasmussen is going to the Padres for Cash Mayfield, Miguel Mendez, and Kaysen Wells. I think we'll just stay here just to see if we get anyone. Matt Strahm is going back to the Phillies for Dante Nori. Okay. Did not expect that to happen. Is there any more else? Michael Wacha gets traded to the Giants for Arias, a 19-year-old center fielder. I think. And then Eugenio Suarez, the Blue Jay, for Bowden Francis and Jake Bloss. So kind of a weird little deadline here. And yeah, the Brewers also get John Means, Carlos Estevez, and Salvador Perez for David Hamilton and Brady Ebel? I butchered that name. I apologize. But yeah, kind of a weird deadline. And then you have Josh Hader going to the Blue Jays, along with Jose Altuve, Kevin Biggio, and Nate Pearson. I didn't realize Kevin Biggio already got traded to the Blue Jays. For Tiedemann, Jonathan Kloss, Cody Ponce, and Anthony Santander is going over to the Astros. So a big little trade there. But, of course, it does not show everybody, so we will take a look here. We have Mullins going to the Brewers for Braylon Payne. They also acquired Javier Baez, Tanner Rainey, and Austin Slater for Cooper Pratt. I butchered that name, too. John Means is a Brewer. We already saw that one. McKinstry, Verlander, Mize, and Efros are going to the Twins for Riley Quick, Walter Jenkins, Gabriel Gonzalez, and Cody Clemens. They also acquired Joey Bart, Clevenger, and Ozuna from the Pirates. They're buying in. McNeil's also a Twin. Quantrill and DeGrom are Marlins. That's a wild one. Austin Hayes is also a Marlin. Willie Castro's a Twin. I guess he's back with the Twins. We saw the Rasmussen trade. Brandon Lau is a Mariner. Mitch Keller, O'Hearn, Soto are both Marlins as well. Man, the Marlins have made a ton of trades. Freeland is also a Twin. Who else did we? Mick Abel and Emmanuel Rodriguez are Astros. Christian Walker is with the Twins as well. Brandon Abreu's an Oriole. I think we saw that one too. Jason Dominguez is a Red for Garrett Hampson, Caleb Ferguson, and Emilio Pagan. Clevenger's a Cub. I think we saw that one too. Yandy Diaz is a Padre. Nemo's a Giant. Jax is a Cub. I think we saw that one. Martin Evaldi and Brazier are Orioles. And then I think that's it. So on to the final part of the season. So the second simulation is all done. As we go through the standings, of course, we'll start with the American League East. The Yankees win the American League East with 98 wins. The Red Sox, Orioles, and Blue Jays are all going into the playoffs. I think this is the first time I've ever simulated, and 4 of the same division teams are going to the playoffs. The Tigers won the American League Central. Excuse me. With the Twins at exactly 500, we're 3 games back. The Royals were 3rd, Guardians were 4th, and the White Sox were last. The Mariners end up winning the American League West with 92 wins. American League West was also pretty bad this season. Everyone else was under 500. And, of course, as I said, the Red Sox, Orioles, and Blue Jays all going into the playoffs. National League East, the Phillies won the division with 95 wins. The Marlins were a wild card spot. The Cubs won the most in the American League, or in the National League, with 106 wins, with the Brewers getting a wild card spot. And, of course, the Dodgers, once again, won the National League West with the Diamondbacks this time, getting a wild card spot with the Brewers, Diamondbacks, and Marlins are also in a wild card spot. The awards, Stanton wins the MVP, so another Yankee. Crochet wins the Cy Young. Batting title goes to Vlad. Robert Garcia wins the Reliever of the Year. Murakami wins the Rookie of the Year. And then, of course, same thing. I'm going to go through these Gold Gloves and Silver Sluggers pretty quickly, so if you guys want to stop and see it, make sure you pause the video. If not, we'll just get through these real quick, and we will go from there. In the National League, Juan Soto wins the MVP. Good for Mets fans, beating out Shohei Ohtani. That's probably what you're liking down there. Justin Steele won the Cy Young. Batting title was James Wood. Okay. Edwin Diaz won the Reliever of the Year. Sal Stewart was the Rookie of the Year for the Reds. And again, same thing. How did this guy get it even though he's in the minor leagues? That's weird. Same thing, though. Just going to go through these really quick. Not going to spend too much time on the Silver Sluggers or the Gold Gloves. And then now we'll just go ahead and simulate the playoffs. So the Diamondbacks defeat the Orioles in the 2026 World Series. Kind of a weird one here in this second simulation, where Arizona, from the wild card, was the 5 seed, ended up winning it all over Baltimore, who was the 5 seed as well. With Baltimore beating Boston, sweeping them in the 2-game the 2-game set, then beating the Yankees in 4. They defeated the Mariners in 7, with the Tigers winning through 2 out of 3 against the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Mariners end up sweeping the Yankees, sweeping the Tigers. In the National League, we already went over the Arizona Diamondbacks, winning 2 of 3, and then, of course, sweeping the Cubs, and winning 4 of 5 against the Dodgers, and then 4 of 6 against the Baltimore Orioles. And the Dodgers, of course, swept the Phillies, and the Phillies swept the Miami Marlins. So that is it for the second simulation. Let's go to number 3. And we already got a big trade. Griffin Jackson, Yandy Diaz are now Mariners, or not Mariners. Why am I saying Mariners? That's definitely the Brewers. Andrew Fisher, Blake Perkins, and Blake Burke are Rays. We have another big trade. Leo DeVries is now going to the Blue Jays for Kevin Gossman, Jeff Hoffman, Eric Lauer, and Eloy Jimenez to the Athletics. Pretty big trade right there. We also got Josh Hader going to the Tigers for Jackson Jobe. Another big trade. Porter Hodge is going to the Royals for Matt Strahm. So Matt Strahm is now a Cub, and they continue trying to upgrade their bullpen every time this simulation happens. And a huge 4-player deal, which is kind of a weird one that this is a 4-player deal. Trevor McDonald, Dakota Jordan, Blake Tidwell, and Gavin Kalin, I butchered that name, for Stephen Kolek, Michael Waka, Nick Mears, and Abraham Toro. So the Giants and Royals make a big trade. The Royals are continuously trading, giving up Lane Thomas to the Mets for A.J. Ewing. And the Royals still make trades, giving up Salvador Perez to the Padres, who end up having the other former Royal, Freddie Fermin at catcher, for Haynes. We got Wiggins going to the Astros for Brian Abreu and Kevin Biggio to the Cubs. The Royals are still making trades. They're selling everybody. Jonathan India is now a Brewer. Anyone else at the deadline? Estevez is now also a Cub. So a couple big trades. Let's see if there's any more that was weird. We saw that one that just didn't pop up. Any big trades that... Seranthony Dominguez is now an Astro, along with Dustin May as well. Anybody else? Nathaniel Lowe's a Padre. We already saw the Jonathan India. Eugenio Suarez is a Dodger. The rich keep getting richer. We already saw that one. We saw that one too. Cedric Mullins is a Brewer. Mike Trout got traded to the Phillies once again. So again, he gets I think it's the second time he's got traded by the Phillies, or to the Phillies. Steven Matz and Drew Rasmussen are Rays? No, Orioles? Yeah, they're Orioles. Fairbanks is a Cub. Castro's an A. Hader's a Tiger. We already saw that one. Santander is on to the Orioles. I think, he's back with the Orioles. Anybody else that's big name that if I pass? Kevin Gossman's an A. I think we already went over that one. Yeah, because that had DeVries in it. Barrios, Garcia, Springer, and Bieber are Pirates. All right. Varsho is an A. So the Blue Jays, I guess, trade everybody. Dominguez is a Marlin. Nemo is a Guardian. And I think we already went over that one. So let's head into the end of the season. Another season in the books. Let's go over the league standings first. Again, we start with the American League East, with the Yankees winning out on tiebreaker with the Baltimore Orioles and the Boston Red Sox. All of them went 88 and 74. The Tigers won the American League Central with 91 wins, with everyone else in the American League Central going under 500. The Mariners won the American League West with 98 wins, with the A's getting another wildcard spot because every single wildcard spot team wound up going 88 and 74. The National League East, the Phillies win the East with 90 wins. The Braves and the Mets were both tied at 86 and 76. Would have made a, no, it wouldn't even made a playoff spot in the American League. The Cubs won the National League Central with 92 wins. Brewers and Pirates both had 89. Both are making the wild card as well. And of course, the Dodgers won 102 games. The Padres ended up having 92 to make the wild card and the number 1 wild card as well. Some league leaders. Mookie Betts was in batting average. Luis Arias with hits. Who led the league in home runs? Gunnar Henderson had 51 home runs. All right. He also led the league in RBIs and runs scored. Ellie De La Cruz with stolen bases. Anybody else? Imanaga, along with George Kirby with wins. Duran with saves. Skubal with shutouts, strikeouts, and complete games, and innings pitched. And then WAR was Crochet and Mookie Betts. Of course, we'll go over awards as well. Gunnar Henderson wins the MVP with George Kirby with Cy Young. He also won the batting title. Cade Smith with the reliever of the year. Parker Messick wins the Rookie of the Year. Of course, same thing. We're going to go through. Guys want to pause it for these? Go ahead. Oh, look at Kyle Isbell winning the silver or winning the Gold Glove. That's what we love to see. Anything else? Nope, that is all the Silver Sluggers. Now we'll go to the National League. Kyle Schwarber wins the MVP over Shohei Ohtani because he had 47 home runs. Snell wins the Cy Young. Mookie Betts the batting title. Reliever of the Year is Matt Strahm since he got traded over. McLean wins Rookie of the Year. Mookie Betts, Hank Aaron, of course, same thing. We're going to go through these really quickly. If you guys want to pause the video, do it. For the Gold Gloves and the Silver Sluggers. And then that will be that. All right, so now we get into the playoffs. We're to simulate to the end of the month. And the Dodgers defeated the A's in the World Series. That's a wild one. The Padres. We'll start with the National League first, since I usually start with the American League. The National League. The Padres swept the Milwaukee Brewers, then lost 3 of 4 to the Dodgers. The Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Phillies in 3, then beat the Cubs in 5, then took the Dodgers to Game 7 of the NLCS. And in the American League, the A's beat Baltimore in 3. They swept the Mariners. They also took the Yankees to Game 7 and won it, and then took the Dodgers to Game 7 but lost it. The Yankees end up defeating Boston in 3, the Tigers in 5, and then losing to 7 against the Athletics. But that is going to end the third simulation. On to 4. Our first trade here in Season 4, or I guess Simulation 4. Walcott and Rocker go to the Twins for Pablo Lopez, Ryan Jeffers, and Cole Sands. Also got another one. This time it's the Royals and the Rays making a trade. Jonathan India, John Schreiber, and Luke Maley are going to the Rays for Theo Gillen. Got another one. Woodruff is going to the Padres for Ethan Salas, Lizarraga, and Haynes. Griffin Jax is going to be a Cub. I feel like Griffin Jax gets traded a lot in these. Alcantara is going over to the Rays in the trade. And another big one. Willie Castro, Kyle Freeland, Jose Quintana, and Tanner Gordon are Royals for Frank Mazziacato, Sean Gamble, and Seth Lugo. Okay, probably the trade for Kyle Freeland there. Yeah, makes sense. Trevor Rogers. Oh, there's another trade. Okay. Trevor Rogers is now a Brave for Waldrop, Smith-Scheuer, and Wisely. We also had Bo Bichette get traded to the Red Sox for Connor Early and another player. Not going to try to pronounce that last name because I would butcher it, and I apologize. Blake Mitchell, Josh Hammond, and Alec Marsh are Brewers for Luis Rengifo, Gary Sanchez, Jake Bowers, and Angel Zerpa. So Zerpa goes back to the Royals at the trade deadline. Varsho gets traded to the Tigers for Clark and Montero. And of course, we'll go through every single trade. Because again, some of them do not come up. Like Austin Wynn, Savali, Mark Lai Jr., and Jeff McNeil are Mariners. Polanco's now a Tiger. We already went over the Royals one. Carantini's a Diamondback. Rayleigh is now a Cub. Springer's a Red. Santander's to the Rangers. Bichette we already went over. Bautista's a Tiger. Got that one too. Got that one as well. Austin Hayes, the Mariner. Kimbrel, Singa, and Weaver are to the Cubs. Tyone and Hodge are now Orioles. I think we went over the Woodruff trade. Got that trade. Tyler O'Neill is a Red. Anybody else? Kyle Bradish is also a Red. Man, the Reds made a lot of trades with the Orioles. Chapman is now a Philly. Robbie Ray's an Astro. Benders with the Yankees. So not very much big trades. There were some, but not too much. But not. I don't want to play. There we go. Now we go to the end of the season. Season is in the books. We'll, of course, look at the standings. Starting off in the American League East, where the Red Sox ended up winning the East over the Yankees by over 10 games, too, but they still ended up making a wild card spot. The Tigers won the American League Central with 93 wins and was second in the American League, with the Guardians, the Royals, the White Sox, and the Twins were dead last. I think it's the first time we've ever seen the Twins with dead last. The Astros ended up winning the American League West, with the Mariners and Rangers also making a wild card spot. The Angels were dead last at 71 and 91. The Mariners, Yankees, and Rangers, of course, I've said. Braves win the National League East, with the Phillies getting a wild card spot, even though they won 94 games. They were tied with the Braves. The Reds won the National League Central, with the Pirates getting a wild card spot. And this is the first time in simulation that the Padres win the National League West, with the Dodgers getting a wild card spot. Nice. So let's check out some awards. Aaron Judge won MVP for the third straight time, technically. Crochet wins the Cy Young. Hader wins the Reliever of the Year. Amai, I butchered that name, I apologize. Wins Rookie of the Year. Of course, again, same thing. We're just going to go quick with these Gold Gloves and Silver Sluggers. Don't need to look at them officially. Who won silver? Oh, that's second base. Okay. All right. Now we check the National League. Eugenio Suarez won the MVP. Christopher Sanchez won the Cy Young. Iglesias was the Reliever of the Year. Painter wins Rookie of the Year. Jackson Merrill wins the Hank Aaron Award. And then, of course, same thing. Gold Gloves. You can pause the video if you guys want to see the exact Gold Glove winners. Same thing with DH. Or same thing with Silver Sluggers. All right, and now let's head into the postseason, see who wins it all. And that would be the Boston Red Sox over the Atlanta Braves in 5 games. Seattle ended up beating the Yankees in 3. The Astros won in 3 as well. Then Boston swept the Mariners. The Astros then beat the Tigers in 4. And Boston beat Houston in 6. The Dodgers beat the Phillies in 3. The Padres swept the Pirates. Then went to 5 games with Cincinnati and lost. The Braves beat the Dodgers in 5. Then the Braves beat the Reds in 5. And then lost in 5 to the Boston Red Sox. That's going to be number 4. Let's head to number 5. I have an early trade here. Michael Wacha is now an Astro, with Xavier going to the Royals. Also have another early trade. Salvador Perez going to the Tampa Bay Rays for Brady Hopkins. Another trade with the Royals involved. Jonathan India is going to the Rays for Aiden Smith. Another trade with the Royals and Rays. That's weird. This time this trade does not involve the Royals or the Rays. The Tigers get Josh Hader for Bryce Rayner. This time this trade goes to the Cubs with the Royals involved, with Matt Strom and John Schreiber for Pedro Ramirez. And now Nick Mears, Hector Neris, and Eli Morgan's going to go to the Reds for Alfredo Duno. Alex Freeland is now an Astro, with Brian Abreu going to the Dodgers. The rich get richer. Dennis Santana is now a Diamondback, with Cunningham going to the Pirates. Of course, now that we're nearing the trade deadline, with Lane Thomas going to the Reds for Austin Hendrick. We'll just stay here. Gosman is now a Padre for Cash Mayfield, Haynes, and King Jr. No big trade on the deadline. That's a little weird. there had to be some trades. There was not actually any trades on the deadline. Hayes is now a Red, along with Eric Fetty. Lane Thomas, we already went over. We went over Santana. Jeffers is now a Padre. Arias, Hentages, Foley, and Maley are now Orioles. Freeland, we already went over. O'Hearn is now a Ray. Noel, George, and Alloy are Blue Jays for Springer and Varsho. That's a big one. That didn't go over. Brandon Lau's a Mariner. Walker's a Brewer. McNeil's a Met. He's back with the Mets. He got traded back with them. Willie Castro's a Mariner. Santander's the Padres. Mike Trout again goes to the Phillies. I swear, every time Mike Trout gets traded in this, he goes to the Phillies. Rayners goes to the... I think we already went over that one. Chapman is a Yankee. Bader's a Pirate. Nemo's a Mariner. Anybody else? Evaldi is now a Cub. That's it. So a couple big trades, and now we'll get to the final, to the end of the season. So another season in the books, and of course we'll go by standings first. The Red Sox win the American League East with the Yankees and Rays and Orioles. So once again, we have 4 teams from one division making a playoff run. The Tigers win the American League Central. Everyone else in the American League Central was under 500. American League West, the Mariners won it with 98 wins. Again, same thing as the American League Central. The American League West was all under 500, with the A's losing 100 games. Of course, the Yankees, Rays, and Orioles are all going to the playoffs as a wild card team. The Phillies win the National League East over the Braves. The Cubs and the Brewers both are going into the playoffs, but the Cubs win the NL Central. And of course, the Dodgers, again, win the West with 108 wins, with the Padres and Diamondbacks also going with the Brewers, Padres, and Diamondbacks, as I said, are wild card teams. The awards time. Aaron Judge wins MVP. Joe Ryan with Cy Young. Griffin Jax wins the Reliever of the Year. Murakami wins Rookie of the Year. And of course, we're just going to go by this real quick with the Gold Gloves. Same thing with Silver Slugger. National League. Ohtani wins MVP. Yamamoto wins the Cy Young. Diaz wins Reliever of the Year. McLean wins Rookie of the Year as well. And again, same thing. Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, and boom. All right. And now looking at the league leaders, Aaron Judge won the batting average along with hits. And Ohtani was home runs. Judge, again, led the American League. RBIs was Stanton. And then I think we'll go with wins with Yamamoto. Saves was Griffin Jax with 56. He had a good season. Bieber only had a 1.84 ERA. That's actually really good. Innings pitched, walks, whip, and then pitching WAR and batting WAR was Paul Skeens for pitching WAR and Ohtani for batting WAR. So good for them. And now we're going to simulate the postseason. What's the Orioles defeated the Cubs in the World Series? So Baltimore beat Detroit in 3, or swept them in 2, then beat Boston in 4, beat Seattle in 6, and then also the Cubs in 6, while the Cubs beat the Phillies in 4, beat the Dodgers in 5. So the Dodgers, again, sweep Milwaukee, but then can't get past the NLCS. So that is a wild one. So the Baltimore Orioles end up winning it all this season. And now it's on to another simulation. We have a big early trade here. I believe we're in June. Yandy Diaz, Griffin Jax, Garrett Clevenger, and Drake Fraley are all Reds. For Stephen Hall, Nathaniel Lau, Tyson Lewis, and Luis May are all Rays. We've got another big one. Dennis Santana is going to the Cubs with Joey Bart and Johan Ramirez for Balestros. I butchered that name. Wiggins and Trirantos. And we have another interdivision trade with Emmanuel Rodriguez, Quentin Young, and Schobel for Kolek, Estevez, and Perez are going to the Twins. Matt Olson and Martin Perez are now Padres, with Schoolcraft, Haynes, and King going over to the Braves. Lane Thomas is now an A, along with Grauer going to the Royals. And after the deadline, wow, well, the Royals are dead last. That's kind of surprising. But anyways, going through the trades, Evaldi, Montgomery, and Junis and Brazier are now Brewers for Jake Bauers, Jet Williams, Joe Ron, and Payne, a big 4-team trade at the deadline. Diaz, Ober, and Rogers are Giants. We already went over Lane Thomas. Kikuchi's now a Brewer. Orlando Arcia is in Philly. DeVries goes to the Rangers for Danny Jansen, Jacob deGrom, and Alexander along with Sabors. That's a big trade. I don't know why that didn't pop up. Vargas for Hayes for the White Sox and Mets. Santander, Bieber, and Rogers are now Red Sox for Marcelo Mayer. Iglesias is now a Red. O'Hearn is a Mariner. Castro, Lorenzen, and Cincezella are A's. Springer is now on the Cubs. Tyone's on the Blue Jays. Pomerantz and Mike Trout get traded to the Yankees. All right. That's a new one for Mike Trout there. Varsho's on the Giants. Mullins is on the Brewers. I think we went over that trade. I don't know. Maybe we did. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. Carrasco is on the Cubs. One with Robert Suarez as well. Profar is a Red. We went over the I think we went over that Giants-Braves one. Pirates, Rays, another Red trade. We're there with Rasmussen going to the Reds as well. Sandy, Alcantara, Bender, and Nardi are on the Orioles. And then Alec Boehm gets traded to the Rangers, along for Brandon Nimmo and Higashioka, along with Canna and Latz. Big trades there that just never, some of them didn't pop up. But let's head on to the final season, or to the final part of this season. Another season, it is in the books. Let's go over the standings. Red Sox win the American League East by 1 game over the Yankees. The Tigers win the American League Central over the Guardians. The Mariners win the American League West over the Astros, with the Yankees, Astros, and Guardians all making the wild card spots. The Philadelphia Phillies win the National League East with 105 wins. The Cubs win the NL Central with 98, with the Reds with 90. Of course, the Dodgers win the NL West. The Padres and the Diamondbacks are also going to the playoffs with the Padres and the wild card. Going over the awards, Cal Raleigh wins MVP with 55 home runs and 143 RBIs. Skubal wins Cy Young. Hader wins the Reliever of the Year award. Murakami wins the Rookie of the Year. And then we're going to go by these really quick. 2 Royals there for Gold Gloves. And now into the National League. Christopher Sanchez wins the MVP and the Cy Young. Wheeler was right behind him. Bryce Harper won the batting title. Durant, man, just Phillies everywhere for everything. McLean, though, wins Rookie of the Year. And then same thing. Just go by quick these here. And the Phillies had everything going for them. But now, Bryce Harper, batting average. Hits was Trey Turner. Same thing with doubles. Gonzalez led the league in triples. Cal Raleigh home runs, of course, with 55. He was the only one over 50. Henderson led the team with led the league in runs. Wins was Christopher Sanchez, along with Glasnow with the losses. Duran with saves. And then WAR was, if we can go there, Skubal. And batting was Raleigh with 11.3. That, I would say that's pretty good. But now let's head on into there. The Tigers defeat the Phillies in the World Series in Game 7. The Tigers were the 2 seed. The Phillies were the 1. They ended up sweeping Arizona. The Dodgers swept the Reds, while everyone swept in the National League until the NLCS. The Reds swept the Cubs. The Diamondbacks swept the Padres. In the American League, Houston and Seattle both swept their opponents. Detroit had to go to Game 5. Houston won in Game 4, then got swept by Detroit. And then Detroit wins in 7. So that is another season down. It's on to another simulation. So we have an early trade here. This time with the Royals and the Rays here in number 7. I guess the 7th simulation here. Waka, India, and Schreiber go to the Rays for Trey Morgan and Braden Taylor. So pretty early trade there. We also got another one. Kevin Alcantara is going to the Royals for Carlos Estevez. So another Royals trade. Now we have another interdivision trade with Pablo Lopez going to the White Sox for Bonemer, Gonzalez, and Wade Jr. And another one. This one is actually a bigger one. Chris Bubich, Stephen Kolek, and Luke Maley go to the Brewers for Jesus Made and Logan Henderson. I butchered that last name. I apologize. But, oh no, another big trade for the Royals, this time with the Brewers. And this is even bigger blockbuster. Zach Gallen, Pavin Smith, Carlos Santana, and Vargas are going to the Giants for Bryce Eldridge, Galvin Klein, Arias, and Gilbert are going to the Diamondbacks. So a big trade, again, interdivision. Salvador Perez is going to Miami. This trade was actually talked about before, way back when, but Salvador Perez is into Miami with Christian Hernandez going to the Royals. Dennis Santana is now a Tiger with Lee going to the Pirates. Matt Strom going back to the Phillies for Graves. More trades with the Royals. This is kind of weird. Lane Thomas, Nick Mears, John Means, and Abraham Toro go to the Giants for Dakota Jordan, Blake Tidwell, and Tristan Vierling. Now, of course, not very many other trades came through, so we'll, of course, as always, take a look. I accidentally did to the teams. So Mark Lyon Jr., Jeffrey Springs, Scott Barlow for Kobe Mayo and Nate George. Mike Trout gets traded to the Phillies, I believe, for once again at this point. I don't know how many times this is Mike Trout getting traded to the Phillies at least, or at least just getting traded in general. Another big one, this time with the Guardians and Angels making a big trade. Wilkerson, Brito, and Angel going to the Angels, with Kikuchi, Taylor, Stevenson, and Siri going to the Guardians. We've got the Royals ones. We got that Tigers one too. Gurriel goes to the Rays for Aiden Smith. Castro is now a Marlin. Jeffers is now a Pirate. We saw the Salvador Perez one. Agustin Ramirez and Thomas White are Pirates for Brandon Lau and Gregory Soto. Ronnie Mauricio is now a White Sox for Austin Hayes. We saw that one. O'Hearn is on the Padres for Ethan Salas. That's actually a big trade, too. Mimby Garcia, Eric Lauer, and Jorge Alcala. Sure. Is now an Oriole with Aloy going to the Blue Jays. Arquette is now a Blue Jay for Santander and Rogers going to the Marlins. Cole Sands is now a Yankee. Joey Bart is a Ray. Jeff Hoffman's a Cub. Other big ones. Nathan Eovaldi is also on the Orioles. Varsho and Bieber are on the Mariners. Big trade there. Already went through that one. George Springer's on the Reds. See, I don't know why that didn't show up. Also, this one. Okert, Altuve, and Myers to the Red Sox. Now, that's a big one, too. Also, I believe... No, okay, that is the Red Sox one. I was like really confused there. Fisher is on the Rangers. DeGrom goes to the Brewers along with Jock Peterson. Christian Walker is also on the Brewers. Man, the Brewers just loaded up from trades. Pablo Lopez, I think we already saw. AJ Puck is on the Cubs. We saw that one. And Luke Stevenson on the Rangers for Brandon Nimmo. So some big trades. And now, of course, we will go to the end of the season. So here we are at the end of the season. Let's go through the awards first. Stanton wins the MVP with 53 home runs and 128 RBIs. Yamamoto wins it for the NL with him also getting the Cy Young and Joe Ryan getting that as well. Oranda won the batting title. Freeman won it in the National League. Diaz wins reliever of the year. I almost said rookie of the year. Kate Smith as well. Masiak wins it for the Guardians. And Nolan McLean wins it for the Mets. Hank Aaron Award is Ketel Marte, Kurtz for them. And then, of course, Gold Gloves. We'll just go through these quick. And I'll probably go back for the National League. There it is. If you guys want to see it, pause the video. Silver Sluggers, same thing. We'll just go quickly here. And then for the American League, here they are. Oh, Bobby Jr. won it. Nice. And yeah, okay. So that is that. Looking at the league leaders, Freddie Freeman, of course, in batting average, Aranda in hits, Duran in doubles, Buxton in triples, Stanton, of course, in homers. Don had 49. We almost had a couple guys with 50 on the season, or more than 50. Otani in runs, stolen bases as well. Although Collins won it in the American League, even though he got hurt apparently. Now, of course, we'll look at wins. Yamamoto with wins. Losses with Joe Ryan with the least. Edwin Diaz at 57 saves. Skubal led the league in ERA with a 2.08. I don't think we've seen under 2, but that's, I think, as close as we've gotten so far. Pitching war was Skubal, and batting war was Buxton. Now we'll get into the standings. First with the AL East. The Orioles won it, along with the Red Sox, Rays, and Yankees all getting a wild card spot, which is, again, I think that's another time that we've had more than one or almost all the teams in one division getting a spot. The American League Central, the Guardians won it with the Tigers second, Royals third, Twins fourth, and White Sox last. The Mariners end up having the best record in the American League with 93 wins, with the Astros, A's, Rangers, and Angels rounding it out. The National League, Marlins, along with the Phillies, get a playoff spot with the Braves, Mets, and Nationals rounding out the NL East. The NL Central was the Cubs with 96 wins, but the Dodgers, of course, with 109. But the Reds, Brewers, Pirates, and Cardinals round out the NL Central. The Dodgers, of course, again, won 109 games. I think they've won every year but one, I believe, at this point. Padres were second with 92 wins. Giants, Diamondbacks, and Rockies rounded out the rest, with the Padres, Phillies, and Reds in the wild card spot with the Braves and Brewers only 2 spots back. That's kind of wild that, the Brewers bought a lot of players in the trade deadline, but they didn't do very well. But the Mariners win in Game 7 over the Dodgers, with the Red Sox winning in the wild card, sweeping that, along with the Guardians, too, over the Yankees. The Baltimore Orioles won in 4. The Mariners won in 5 against Boston. Seattle then won in 5 against Baltimore, and then in 7 against the Dodgers. The Phillies swept the Padres, and the Reds won in 3 against Miami. The Cubs and the Dodgers then swept the Phillies and the Reds, respectively. The Dodgers won in 6 against the Cubs, and then lost in Game 7 against Seattle. But that is Sim 7. It's on to number 8. We've got an early trade here. This one is in June. Luis Heel goes to the Rays for Griffin Jax. Kind of like an even trade here, in my opinion. We have another interdivision trade with Jonathan India going to the Twins for Raya. Also got Matt Strahm going to the Cubs for Luke Little. And a big trade, another one into the division. Estevez, Schreiber, Neris, and Maley are all going to the Tigers for Brissino and Young as well. Let's get another trade with Michael Wacha going to the Astros for Bryce Matthews. I don't know why it's only showing the Royals ones. It should show other ones, but we'll take a look since it is the trade deadline. Or after the trade deadline. Steven Matz, Jake Fraley, Cole Sulser, and Gavin Lux are now Twins. Suarez is now a Brewer, and Garrett Hampson as well. Again, I don't know why it doesn't show that half the time. Chris Paddock, John King, and Nardi are both Red Sox. Jacob deGrom is a Padre. Alcantara is a Met, or Alcantara, along with Devin Williams moving to the Cubs. Bichette is a Yankee. Why did that trade not pop up? It's a wild one. Nathaniel Lau is a Twin as well. Cedric Mullins is still on the Diamondbacks. Big trade here with Haas, Bader, Fulmer, and Maley going to the Twins for Gallagher, Abel, Young, and Culpepper to the Giants. Reimer is now a Rocky. Castro's a Met. Junis, Cantrell, and Evaldi are on the O's. Anyone else? Higashioka is on the Cubs. Jameson Tyon's on the Rangers. Benintendi moved to the Diamondbacks. They bought that contract, apparently. Lee is on the Angels. Hayes on the Twins. McNeil's on the Mets. Fairbanks is on the Twins. Mike Trout is on the Mets. Another one that Mike Trout gets traded, but this time it's to the Mets. It's still the NL East. Gurriel's on the Cubs, along with AJ Puck. Sean Manaea is on the Astros. Polanco's a Brewer. Clevenger's a Red, along with Yandy Diaz. Nemo's on the Blue Jays. Griffin Jax we saw. Matt Chapman's on the Phillies. Again, some major trades that just don't go over during simulation. But anyways, on to the end of the season. So another season in the books, or I guess another simulation in the books. Let's go by league leaders this time first. Duran led in average. Doubles was again Duran and triples. Home runs was Judge with 48, along with RBIs. Anybody else? We're going to go by wins with Ryan Nelson with 18, tied with Pablo Lopez, Christopher Sanchez. Munoz led the league in saves with 54. Strikeouts with Scooble. I think he always leads at this point. He's been always up there. Pitching war was Logan Webb, and batting war was Bobby Witt Jr. All right. We'll go by awards now. Aaron Judge won his third straight MVP. Scooble also won the Cy Young for the third straight time. Harper wins MVP with 41 home runs, 117 RBIs, and 306 average. Cy Young was Zach Wheeler. Batting title was Pavin Smith with Durant on the American League side. Grant Taylor on the reliever of the year with 49 saves. Dennis Santana was on the National League side. Connor Griffin wins Rookie of the Year. And Parker Masiak wins it for the Guardians. Hank Aaron Award was Bryce Harper and Aaron Judge. Well, now we'll go quickly throughout the Gold Gloves. Again, if you guys just want to pause the video, see who wins it, you guys can. A lot of Gold Gloves for the Royals there, which is kind of nice. 30 of them were for the Royals. That's kind of funny. I'll probably do the same thing for the Silver Sluggers, because again, it really doesn't matter who wins these. So just going through these pretty quickly, switching between the two the two leagues. Lindor and Bobby Witt Jr. win it for the shortstops position. Of course, Judge get it. Taylor Ward, Acuna, Tucker, and Duran. Now, of course, we'll check out the standings. Going first from the American League East with the Orioles, again winning the division over the Yankees. They made a playoff spot with the Red Sox, Rays, and Blue Jays ending out the AL East. The Tigers win the American League Central with 89 wins. The Twins were number 2 with getting a wild card spot, with the Royals, White Sox, and Guardians rounding out the AL Central. Wow, the Guardians did not do good in this simulation. The Mariners won the American League West and, of course, clinched the best record in the league with 103 wins, with the Astros getting a wild card spot with 89 wins, with the Angels, A's, and Rangers rounding out the West. And again, the Astros, Yankees, and Twins made a playoff spot. The Phillies won the National League East with 90 wins, not even getting a spot in the playoffs, which is weird. Well, the NL definitely had a really good season. The Mets, Marlins, and Nationals rounded out the NL East. The NL Central, the Cubs won it with 95 wins. The Brewers did get a playoff spot with 91 wins. The Pirates, Reds, and Cardinals round out the Central. And, of course, the West, I mean, this was obvious. The Dodgers win it with 106 wins. And the Diamondbacks and Padres both had 90 wins and both make it, with the Giants and Rockies rounding out the rest of the West. I guess the Braves lost the tiebreaker to the Diamondbacks and Padres both, because this is a 3-way tie here. But the Braves don't make it, which is weird. So, now we'll go through the World Series with the Yankees defeating the Phillies in Game 6. I think it was like one of the first times the Yankees won it. But again, the Dodgers were the 1 seed and get knocked out in the NLCS. Yankees beat the Astros in the wild card, then 1-5 against the Mariners, and then 5 again against the Twins. The Twins swept Baltimore and Detroit before losing to the Yankees. Arizona swept Milwaukee before losing to the Dodgers. The Phillies beat the Padres and the Cubs, and then the Dodgers to get to the World Series before losing to the Yankees. But another simulation down, on to number 9. We have an early trade here. This one in June. Nate George and Luis De Leon are going to the Royals for Michael Wacha, Jonathan India, and Kevin Newman. And A.J. Puck is on the Twins for Quinton Young. Dennis Santana is also on the Twins for Houston. Anthony Gutierrez is going to the Royals for Matt Strahm. He's going to the Rangers. Griffin Jacks is now on the Yankees with Legrand going to the Rays. Kevin Gausman, George Springer, and Eloy Jimenez are going to the Mariners for Cade Anderson, Luke Stevenson, and Farmelo. Big trade deadline deal We'll, of course, take a look at that because, again, it doesn't call up anybody. Nathaniel Lau is on the Giants along with Caleb Ferguson and Pierce Johnson. Shane Bieber is on the Giants. Ryan O'Hearn is an Oriole again. McNeil is on the Giants. Gurriel is also on the Giants. Varsho is to the Dodgers. Sosa is on the Mariners. Garcia is on the Mets. Hampton's on the Blue Jays. Garcia is on the Yankees. Clevenger is a Yankee. Suarez is a Pirate. Wow, that's a big one for the Pirates. Emilio Pagan, Eugenio Suarez, and Tyler Stevenson from the Reds. That's a big deal that just didn't pop up. Quintana, Castro, and Freeland are now Brewers as well. Brady Singer is on the Rangers, along with Jose Trevino and Tony Centillion. We already went over the Dennis Santana. Mike Trout is an Astro. Again, just didn't show up. I feel like that'd be a big deal. Yandy Diaz is a Brewer. We went over the AJ Puck one. Yu Darvish gets traded to the Brewers, along with Ty France and Ramon Laureano. So again, another big one. Joe Musgrove is on the Cubs, along with Jason Adam and Wandy Peralta and Adrian Morjan. So again, some big trades just never pop up. But anyways, let's head to the final or the end of the season. So another season in the books. Let's go standings first this time. And of course, starting the American League East with the Orioles again winning the division. But this time, the Red Sox, Yankees, Rays, and Blue Jays do not get a playoff spot. The American League Central, the Tigers won it with 98 wins. The Twins get a wild card spot at 85 wins. The Royals, White Sox, and Guardians do not make a playoff spot. The Mariners win the American League West with 101 wins, with the Rangers, Astros also getting a playoff spot, with the A's and Angels rounding out the West. The Rangers, Astros, and Twins, of course, we already went over the wild card. The National League East, the Braves win it with 95 wins, with the Mets getting 2, the Phillies, Marlins, and Nationals rounding out the rest. The NL Central, the Cubs with 104 wins. The Brewers at 80 and 82 get in, with the Pirates, Reds, and Cardinals not getting a wild card spot and rounding out the NL Central. In the National League West, who would have thought the Dodgers win again with 115 wins, with the Giants getting 2 with 87, also getting a wild card spot, with the Diamondbacks, Padres, and Rockies rounding out the NL West, with the Giants 1, Mets 2, and Brewers 3 for the wild card. Some league leaders. Aaron Judge was batting average, hits. Triples was Bobby Witt Jr. Schwarber led the league in home runs with 54. Seager also had 50 home runs. Swanson led the league with RBIs along with Corey Seager with 118. Simpson led the stolen bases with 50 stolen bases. That's insane. Matthew Boyd had 20 wins. And it was over Yamamoto and Glasnow, who both had 17. Diaz led the league with 60 saves. Paul Skeens had the most strikeouts. Scuba only had 224. That's kind of surprising. Pitching war with Scuba with 6.6, and Bobby Witt Jr. with 9.3, tied with Seager for the batting war. But the awards, Corey Seager, of course, wins MVP. When you have 50 home runs, 118 RBIs, is going to happen. The National League side was Schwarber. Cy Young went to Yamamoto. The American League side was Skubal. Batting title was Aaron Judge. Acuna won it in the National League. Diaz was reliever of the year. Griffin Jax for the American League side. Amai? I butchered that name. I apologize. Won the Rookie of the Year for the Astros. Ridden Cones Jr. won it for the Phillies. Hank Aaron Award was for Aaron Judge and Ronald Acuna. And then, of course, we'll go through one by one here for the Gold Gloves. I'm doing a little bit differently than what I did the first time. Of course, I am doing these kind of differently. I'm not recording these the same day, of course. So it obviously is going to be a little bit different how it's going to look, but it's about the same thing. So all in all, Pete Alonso won Silver Slugger for the Orioles. J-Ram, that was kind of obvious for the Guardians there, winning Silver Slugger. And then, of course, all the random outfielders as well. So, of course, again, just like always, we're going to simulate the postseason with the Dodgers defeating the Mariners in 6 games. So they kind of got their revenge a little bit. The Giants won in 2 against the Mets. The Brewers won in 3 against the Braves. The Cubs swept the Brewers. The Dodgers had to go to Game 5 against the Giants. They also went to Game 5 against the Cubs. The Rangers won in 3 against Houston. Lost in 5 against Seattle. Baltimore won in 3 against Milwaukee or against Minnesota. Baltimore then swept Detroit and then lost in 5 to Seattle, who then lost in 6 to the Dodgers. But that's going to be number 9 into our final simulation. And we got another early trade here in May this time with Griffin Jax is now on the Phillies for Gage Wood. Josh Hader is on the A's. That's a big one for Gage Jump. And Morjan is going to the Orioles for Luis De Leon, the Padres. Brady Ebel is going to the Royals for Salvador Perez. He's now a Brewer. Kyle Isbell is now on the Diamondbacks with Waldschmidt going to the Royals, along with Montes and Farmelo going to the Royals for the Mariners with Jonathan India, Lane Thomas, John Means, and Hector Neris are now Mariners. Pablo Lopez is now going to the Pirates along with Ryan Jeffers and Cole Sands, with Edward Florentino, Thomas Harrington, Esmeralda Valdez, and Garcia going to the Twins. So a couple big trades, at least, here. If we look at the completed stuff like always. We already went over those. Higashioka is now on the Padres. Sam Haggerty and Sabors for Casson Wells and Victor Lizarga. Anybody else? Chris Paddock, John King, Pete Fairbanks, Andrew Nardi are on the Tigers. Lane Thomas, we already went over that one. Nathaniel Lau is on the Diamondbacks. Jason Adams on the Blue Jays. Yandy Diaz on the Brewers. Victor Carantini is also on the Brewers. So why did they trade for 2 catchers on the same day? That's a little weird, but all right. Walker's on the Padres. Mullins is on the A's as well. Austin Hayes is on the Mets. Willie Castro's in A as well. Bader's on the Mariners. Okert, Myers, and Biggio for the Orioles. Ramon Laureano's on the Tigers. Suarez on the Phillies. Hader, we already went over. Stevenson's on the Pirates for Tamar Johnson. Wow, that's a big one. Nimmo is on the Blue Jays. Didn't Nimmo get traded again? No, it was Laureano. McMahon and Jason Dominguez are on the Marlins for Anthony Bender and Sandy Alcantara. Surprised that didn't show up either. Volpe's on the Giants for Matt Chapman. Clevenger's on the Yankees along with Drew Rasmussen. Nathan Eovaldi's on the Orioles as well. And I think that's going to it for the trades at least. And we have one more simulation to get through for the regular season. So another season in the books. Let's go through standings. With the Yankees win the American League East with 98 wins, with the Orioles and Red Sox also getting a playoff spot, but the Blue Jays and Rays do not. The Tigers won the American League Central with 92 wins, with the White Sox, Guardians, Royals, and Twins. The White Sox were number 2 in the division. A little bit weird. The Mariners win the American League West with the best record in the American League, with the A's also getting a wild card spot with the Rangers, Astros, and Angels rounding out the American League West. The National League East, the Braves win it, with the Phillies and Mets getting a wild card spot, with the Marlins and Nationals rounding out the NL East. The Pirates win the NL Central with 87 wins. The Brewers, Cubs, Reds, and Cardinals round out the rest of the NL Central. The Dodgers, I think they won every time, besides one. The Diamondbacks getting a wild card spot. The Padres, Giants, and Rockies round out the rest of the NL West. The Diamondbacks, Phillies, and Mets getting 1, 2, and 3 for the wild card. The league leaders, Aaron Judge led in batting average, and home runs was also Aaron Judge with 59 of them, but he did not lead the league in RBIs. That was Gunnar Henderson. Going through the pitching, Brandon Woodruff led the league in wins. Munoz led the league in saves with 50. Gilbert also had a 2.14 ERA, so we've had a couple low twos for ERA at least, which is kind of surprising. Pitching war was Garrett Crochet with 6.5, and batting war was Aaron Judge with 8.7. Looking at the awards, Aaron Judge won MVP, and the National League was Shohei Ohtani. Brendan Woodruff won the Cy Young. Crochet in the American League. Titles were Contreras and Judge. Iglesias and Chapman won Relievers of the Year. Eldridge and Yasavage won Rookies of the Year. Aaron Judge and Ronald Acuna Jr. were the Hank Aaron Award winners. And then, of course, going through the Gold Gloves pretty quickly. Don't need to go over these as much just because it's fielding-wise to see who's got the best fielder. Then, of course, in the Silver Sluggers will be the same thing. We're just going to go quick. If you guys don't want to, or if you guys want to see it more in depth, pause the video so you can see who wins. But I'm trying to go quick. Sometimes the servers aren't really letting me go fast, but it is what it is. Gotta load whoever's trying to load up here. So all in all, oh, Rooker got a Silver Slugger. Good for him. But anyways, the final time that we sim a postseason, which the Dodgers win it over the Yankees. So they took a while to win the World Series in these simulations, but they finally do it. It was back-to-back, at least from what I remember. But the A's swept Baltimore, and the Tigers 1-3 against the Red Sox. The A's then got swept by the Mariners. The Yankees 1-5 against the Tigers. I almost said against the Yankees. That would be awkward. The Yankees then won in Game 7 against the Mariners. The Phillies swept the Diamondbacks. The Pirates swept the Mets. The Pirates also took care of business against the Braves in 5. The Dodgers beat the Phillies in 4. The Dodgers then, of course, won in the NLCS in 6, and then in 7 against the Yankees. But that's going to go ahead and do it for the video. Hope you guys did enjoy. Actually, on the screen here, we'll have all the stuff that happened. So if I'm going to do a point system, whoever had the most points, obviously who MLB The Show thinks is going to win the division, and I'll kind of go through each one. I'll even have like a World Series trophy somewhere, probably on the screen right now, with everybody to see who won as many World Series, probably for the American League and the National League, and then maybe some other stuff like MVPs and stuff like that. Well, and playoff appearances will probably also on there as well. But anyways, if you guys are new, hit that subscribe button. We're going to be doing more franchise stuff as well on here pretty soon. We also stream Diamond Dynasty a couple times, either during the week. Sometimes it doesn't happen, mostly because the servers have been pretty bad of recently. So we really haven't been on there. But all in all, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, weekend, if you guys are watching this. And yeah, it's baseball season. Good luck to your teams. I'm out. Peace.